Hello and welcome to our second episode of The Mental Man. Now we've got one extra mental man tonight, and that's Tim. So I'm Fish, as usual, with Justin. As usual, it's our second show. And Tim is joining us, coming in to tell us about his story tonight. Now, just before we get started, if you or someone you know is having a crisis, you should ring the mental health crisis number on 131465. We recommend a mature audience as the themes of the show. We talk about not suitable for children, and there may be coarse language used from time to time. But just not now. Now, our views portrayed on this show are our own. They are our opinions and no one else's. We are not doctors. We are not healthcare professionals. We are just two blokes with a ton of lived experience looking to lend a hand to anyone who needs it. We ask you to please respect the privacy of others on this show, even though we are telling all. Not everyone wants to have their limelight, and so should avoid using people's names unless we have consent, and be respectful of what other people are going through. So, having said all that, which was written down because there's no way I could have remembered that, Tim, so what brings you in tonight?
I just wanted to follow on from the discussion you guys had last week and throw my weight in, or experience, because
you're going to have to throw a lot of weight in, mate, with us too, I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm batting way out of my league there. Some of the things you spoke about last week I could relate to, and there were some points that I didn't agree to, because I guess, as you said, it's a very personal experience or situation, and there's not a one size fits all scenario. So I just wanted to, sort of throw my sort of hat into the ring and share my experience and how it differs, even though some parts are similar, particularly with fishes, but there are other parts that are completely different, and particularly the way that I've turned myself around without the medication was one of the points that I didn't agree with, and but that's what's worked for me, and what's worked for you is worked for you. So,
something different, exactly.
It's
now, anything we ask you, Tim, obviously you don't have to reply to. You can just turn around and say that, I don't want to go down that path, which is absolutely fine. You just tell us what you feel comfortable with. And we have a new device. This won't be used on you tonight, Tim, but Justin and I can tend to waffle on a bit. And when I say Justin and I can tend to waffle on a bit. So we've got ourselves little devices. So if I'm waffling on too much, I just let Justin know that he's gone too far, or just speed it up. So if my dogs are inside listening to that, they're going mad. But yeah, so we will make those sounds if either one of us are waffling on, like now. So, all right, Tim, tell us about your story. When did you hit rock bottom?
7 weeks ago today. Was the point I really knew I was at rock bottom, and then the Thursday morning following was when I made the decision that I really need to get out and get some help. My downward spiral really only took about 4.5 weeks leading up to that point.
It's not a long time, is it?
It's not, and the scariest thing for me at the time, I didn't realise. I felt 100% normal. I didn't feel out of place, and I even had my then girlfriend at the time say to me that you're heading down a dark hole, and no, I'm not. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I feel great. And yeah, 2 weeks later, I'm sort of waking up in a ball, not wanting to live, in tears. But it was probably 2-3 days before hitting rock bottom that I actually realised I was in trouble and heading, down this dark hole, and I didn't realise how deep I was in at the time. And I reached out to somebody who I knew was a volunteer for one of the phone services and was studying in that field and whatever, and just asked, like, where do I go? What do I do? I'm struggling. And she gave me a heap of advice and numbers to call and everything else. And part of that was to go and go to the GP, get yourself the mental health treatment plan, everything else.
Incredibly important, isn't it?
And can I just stress on that as well? Mental health care plans, in most cases, it makes it free or a very small gap. But a lot of the times they can, if you go on a healthcare plan, it's free because money's a big gripe with mine. I just hate forking money over anything to do for myself, but I'll go out and buy, the 200th plush toy for my daughter because she wants one. But I won't spend money on health or looking after myself. But that's just what we do as men. So yeah, getting a mental health care plan, really, really important and can really, really help streamline.
Did you find that difficult to take that step?
It was the most difficult part for me was actually realising that I needed help. I couldn't deal with this myself. Yeah. I've dealt with depression and self-diagnosed anxiety, which I only sort of discovered 7 years ago. Those feelings and whatever I was having were anxiety. So I basically self-treated that, which is another story. But yeah, knowing that I'm in trouble and having to ask for help was a big step, because like I've said to Fish before, we grew up in an era where guys don't talk about depression. Guys don't have depression. No. You're not allowed to, and I've still got mates that don't believe in it, won't talk about it. So you've got, I'm less of a man. I've got to reach out and get help. I can't deal with this myself. And that was that Thursday morning was a big awakening. I need help. I now know where I can go and try and get it, which is better than I'd got in the past. When I had reached out. But that then opened up a whole other kettle of fish, because I'm going to ring the GP down the road. I've been there a couple of times, so rang there, can't get in. So I ring the next GP, it's the next closest, and can't get in. And I'm looking at...
When you're needing immediate help, that's one of the most horrible things that can happen to you.
So I'm looking at 13 days for the closest appointment. But then I say, but it's for a mental health treatment. Oh, that's a longer consultation.
Yes.
So back to back, it's 17 days, it's 21 days. It's like, I'm lying here at the moment. I don't want to live. I don't want to hurt myself, but I don't want to live.
See, 17 days could be the difference between you being here and not being here.
Well, that's what I was afraid of at the time, because things for me had spiraled so quickly, and I hadn't realised. And I'm lying in bed in a ball, in tears, not wanting to live. Well, what's the next step? That's what really sort of scared me. So I've got Google Maps up on the computer, and I'm GPing. I'm just spiraling out, looking for someone. Can't get it, and I'm a mess. I'm a mess. Like, all right, if I go back and they see me, maybe they'll do something. So I go back, and I started at the closest one. No. Of course, now the 17-day appointment's gone. It's back out to 22 days, and it's like, what do I do? You know,
I just want help.
Yeah.
And I can't find it.
Can't find it.
And you're in despair at the time, and
Yeah.
you know, logic isn't necessarily the first thing that comes to mind when you're going through this spiral.
Well, no, because my head was a mess. It was, as it turns out, I was having all these different thoughts and things that weren't correct. And, you know, even though I can see the truth, my head's telling me something different. 'Cause, you know, because my downward spiral, a bit like Fisher's, started with I pinched the sciatic nerve in my back, so I was in absolute agony, can't sleep, can't stand, can't lay down, can't sit, can't get comfortable, in pain. The painkillers I've on have now caused a problem with my stomach, so I'm getting stomach cramps, I've got pain in the stomach, it's just spiraling, and so
Everything's adding up.
it's all adding up.
No matter what you can do to try to remedy the situation, it just isn't getting any better.
No,
is it?
no.
No. Okay.
And so it was pretty much, I'd made a commitment to help a mate out at lunchtime. I was meeting him in town at 1 o'clock. So me being me, didn't want to let my mate down. So went into town, met him, picked up some gear from this nightclub for him. And he's been overseas for a couple of years, so hadn't seen him, hadn't caught up. And I'm struggling. I'm struggling not to burst into tears sitting there. I'm struggling to hold it together. The anxiety of being in town around people's going through the roof. So he's going, I was only in town for 20 minutes to pick this gear up, load in my van. He goes, let's catch up. I'll buy you lunch. I just made an excuse. I'm in town. I want to go see someone. Got some things to catch up on. I've got to buy some stuff. When you come round tomorrow to look at your gear, work out what we're going to do with it, we'll catch up then. Oh yeah, cool. And it was then I made the decision that I'm taking myself to hospital. I don't know where I'm going to end up in an hour or what. I'm in town. Why I didn't go to the RAH, I don't know. I decided to go to Mobbery.
Okay.
So I'm doing some stupid speed up North East Road, tears running down my face, and got myself to the hospital without getting arrested or killing anybody. Or I walk in, and of course the waiting room's packed. It's 4 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. There's 30 kids with broken fingers and sprained ankles from school sports injuries and all sorts of.
It's not a environment that somebody with a mental health issue really needs to spend any time within.
So, and you've got to walk through the waiting room to get to reception, and it's like, I've got the mask on, I get to the counter and there's a glass window you've got to shout through. Everyone in the room can hear, so I'm getting there. The anxiety's up. And I'm at
only imagine.
At the point at the window where I'm about to do a U-turn and leg it the hell out of there. And the girl behind the counter just said she knew something wasn't right, and she just looked at me as I was about to turn, which caught my attention and stopped me, and she said, "You're in trouble, aren't you?" And I just nodded, and the tears just started. And she come to me, the window, and she, I come closer, lean in. She said, "What's wrong?" And she whispered, and I said, "I don't want to live." And she looked at the waiting room, she looked over, "Go sit over there." And then she came out with a clipboard and sat down and spoke quietly to me, so no one else in the building could hear.
Wow, that's a level of respect.
And it's like that, it just brought me down
enough.
And then she went over, because you got to do the COVID test before you can see anybody and everything. She went over, and I could see her talking to the nurse that does the COVID testing. And she's pointed out, half dozen, 10, say, people that need, and she's, no,